Peace, 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 peace. It is your sister Rue coming to you on a beautiful Thursday afternoon. It is amazing outside. I think spring finally got the message that it was supposed to be here as summer almost gets ready to slide through. But we're not going to complain because this is the healing chamber, and we know this beautiful sunshine out here is a major part of our healing, getting outside in nature. I don't know if you can hear the birds birding, but I just gave them an offering and they are sitting around just listening to me, and I'm listening to the waterfall. I don't know if you can hear it, but it is amazing. One of the beautiful things about being up in the beautiful Hudson Valley. So today, healing chamber, MaWu Lisa Temple. What are we talking about? Well, I aptly named this session Yes You May, because I got quite a few questions over the month with the different programs that we offered. The very first one being a little intro about why MaWu Lisa Temple was doing this series. The second one was about mother and health, the Bach flowers, and then it was mothers and health. And so today what I would like to do is say yes you may, ask questions, and I will give answers. So I am going to address some of the answers that we had, but I'll just do a brief little recap in the process. So MaWu Lisa Temple, yes, up here in the beautiful Hudson Valley. We've been here for a little bit of time now, and we love it because it is a beautiful setting to be able to do some self-reflection work. Now, even though you hear a few cars right now, I happen to be towards the opening, the edge of the waterfall. So once you kind of park, you can kind of walk in and you won't hear that anymore. But for the sake of this video, I'm not taking this all the way in there. But again, beautiful place to heal. We are up here and we do different retreats and workshops for healers. Now, not only do we work with healers, we also work with the general public, and I'll tell you why. One of the things we understand as naturopathic providers is that we do not do anything but guide you along the way. So what I'd like for people to really look at this series as is an opportunity to see some of the things that I've tried, that some of our other affiliates and companions have tried, not only for themselves but for their clients. And in this time, we've collected quite a bit of data, and some things work for some people and some things just don't. There is no cookie cutter way to heal. All right. With that being said, we do not diagnose or treat any illnesses here. We make suggestions. This is a place of education. And so that's why your questions are so appreciated. And let me just give the email address right up front, MaWuLisaTemple@gmail.com, and also on Instagram at MaWuLisaTemple1. Send your questions. They don't have to just be about the topics that we have addressed already, but they can be about anything. We have some great things coming up, most high willing, that will, spark your interest and maybe find some other ways to approach not only yourself, your healing practice as a professional, but also personally in your own lives and in that of your families. So that was pretty much what we talked about during the first week. The next week we talked about Bach flower remedies. So I did put the information for this book in the description. So this book is a DK book. As you can see, it's tiny, but it's thick. And when I say it is packed with information, people laugh at me because, I'm still a big book girl. Even though you can Google anything and you got everything in your pocket, it is nothing like having these books with the tiny little details that really change and enhance your practice. Being able to sit with these books and look at some of the pictures and things like that. Now, I'm sure they have a version of this online and other things probably that are greatly illustrated, but I will tell you, I've had this book for a very long time, and it has never failed me, especially in terms of continuing my education, and that's important not only for my clients but for myself, right? So, Bach flower remedies. So let me read some of the questions. The first one I got here was, who is the author? DK Books, Jeremy Hardwood. Okay. And who was the doctor who introduced this healing technique? So, kind of what we talked about in the beginning of that video was that he discovered this technique and then modified it, studied it, modified it. It's nothing new under the sun. I don't want to take any credit away from what he did, because these remedies have helped me. But what I would like to say is that we have to remember that there's nothing new under the sun, and these flowers have been here since whenever the beginning of time, and so have these methods of being able to apply it. But what's happened now is that we've been able to study a little bit more and bring this information back to the forefront. So, who was the doctor who introduced this healing technique? Dr. Edward Bach. He ascended in 1936, which means that he kind of got this practice going in the late 20s, and through the time when the end of his life, he practiced this technique and shared it with others, and with great success. Next question was, why did he do this? Why did he introduce these things? Well, he went to medical school and did conventional medicine, and he was dissatisfied. He was dissatisfied, as many of us are, with the conventional way of healing. And this is no knock to that, because it has its place. But we have to remember that there's a very natural way to heal. And the sooner and the closer we get back to that, the more we'll experience optimal health, which is our birthright. Okay? So, he was dissatisfied with conventional approach to diagnosis and treatment of disease. What did he believe? Well, like many of our ancestors and a few marked others, he believed that the patient was the most important factor in healing. Now, for naturopathic practitioners and for people who study holistic health and ascribe to holistic health, this makes perfect sense to us. Of course, the patient is the most important thing. Now, when I said there's no cookie cutter way to heal, what I mean is this very thing right here. A patient comes in, well, two patients come in, they both have a headache. They'll ask some questions, same exact questions to both of them, and they'll most likely end up prescribing almost the same thing. And one person's headache can be coming from a completely different source. This is what I mean. And this is what he was talking about when he said he had gotten dissatisfied with this simple diagnosis, because diagnosing someone used to be a more in-depth process. Astrology was taken into account, whether you had a wet or dry nature. I know some people really gonna love that. You know, whether you were hot or cold, these things matter in treating ourselves, right? So he believed that the patient was the most important factor in healing. He went on to say, it says, it's the way in which he or she is affected, which is the true guide to healing. Now, what does this mean? This means that, yes, you know, you have one person, like I said, that has this headache and they respond one way. You have another person who has this headache and they respond a different way. What the person thinks about their headache also matters. One person is like, oh, my head always hurt, you know, da-da-da-da-da, and they are feeding themselves these negative thoughts about this particular ailment that they're having. And because of that, they believe a certain thing, and as they believe this thing develops into something else, And as we'll see, that truly matters in the treatment of which flower essences were used. How many flower remedies are there? There are 38. Okay, 38. Plus one, which is a rescue remedy tincture. Okay, so let me just put a little sidebar in here. No matter where I go, no matter when I go, no matter how much solitude or whatever, somebody will always come and either pull up next to me, walk next to me, sit next to me. It does not matter. We just had like 3 cars pull. I was here all alone. Well, you know what it is. Drawing the energy. Could have walked anywhere. Right here. But 38 remedies plus one. The 39th one is what's called rescue remedy. Now, I will give a testimonial about the rescue remedy. I used to have terrible anxiety attacks. And they seem to happen most times when I was driving, which that has its own trauma connected to it. But this rescue remedy, someone recommended to me because I don't like to take medication for anything really. But I definitely knew that I didn't want to start taking all these, anti-anxiety and different kind of medications. So somebody recommended this rescue remedy, and that was actually how I found out about these Bach flower remedies, right? So buy some of this rescue remedy, use a drop or two under the tongue. Believe it or not, it really worked. It worked with no side effects. I didn't feel super sleepy. I didn't feel all, beside myself. It just helped to quell whatever it was that had me anxious. Now, I have since then done work to find the root of my anxiety. So therefore, I address the root of it, not the symptoms. And I don't use that particular remedy anymore. And that's the whole idea, is not to continue using these remedies forever. It's until you can address what it is that is triggering these particular symptoms, diseases, discomfort, or pain, whatever, right? So 38. Somebody asked for a couple of examples of the flowers. So aspen is used for fear. Walnut is used for oversensitivity. Honeysuckle is used for nostalgia. Those people who kind of just live in this past kind of energy and can't seem to come to present and move towards the future. And that's a lot of people. That's where a lot of the root of our illnesses come from. We can't let go of things, myself included. Nobody's exempt from this. Heather is used for something like loneliness and agrimony. Now, I wanted to end with that one because that one deals with hidden anxiety. And I remember when Taraji P. Henson came out with, Tyler Perry did that movie, Agrimony. And I remember refusing to watch it for a long time because I knew what the root of the word meant, and I knew what the word meant, and I was just like, I don't want to see, how they're portraying this particular thing in this movie, how they're addressing this subject matter. But what I will say is, after years of not watching it and finally watching it, I will say that agrimony, that Bach flower remedy, could have really helped. Hidden anxiety, hidden fear. That movie was about a woman who was scorned, and she just had these hidden, really what they were fears, mostly of abandonment, and most of us have that hidden fear of abandonment. But when it actually happens, when something in life actually confirms something that you had a hidden fear about, it causes a slew of things to happen. Anything can happen. So I just wanted to kind of in with that particular flower. When he this was the next question, when he created this technique or reused this technique, what was he addressing? His goal was to create a remedy against every negative state of mind. Now you kind of see what those flowers, loneliness, fear, all these things, any negative state of mind. Now, I know anybody listening to the sound of my voice know that there's never a shortage of negative chit-chatter that seems to fly into our heads, intrusive thoughts, and all these different things. With this being the month of May and mental health awareness, I thought it was important to kind of start with these particular subjects because, again, and I'll answer this before. The next question is that a lot, as you can see, has to do with the state of mind. Anyway, so what else did Bach believe? Bach firmly believed that the physical ill health was a result of an imbalance in the mind. Okay? An imbalance in the mind, not being able to come to terms with things. Like I said, sometimes it's let things go, sometimes it's remember things, sometimes it's try to rationalize things. All of these things can cause these symptoms in the body. I mean, anybody who's ever been depressed, and I mean really depressed, knows that your body can hurt, all kinds of things. Do you hear this? It's beautiful. See me sitting here recording. It's so lovely. You gotta love it. Anyway, so it was a result of an imbalance of the mind. And so again, these flower remedies, much like when we use tea and things now, like lavender to calm you down and all that stuff like that, this is the same principle. So it shouldn't be hard to say, well, maybe if I look a little bit more today, it might be more things that I can address and not have to deal with the conventional medicine and all the extra pills that affect your other organs and all of these different things. All right. So lastly, about the Bach flower remedy, he talked about where the emotional outlook, mood, temperament, and personality of the individual is concerned. So again, that's the Bach flower remedy, and it takes me right into, see, your sister be actually having a plan. Takes me right into the beautiful sister Ross Mariah's work, Zodiacal View on You, Volume 2. R.V. Bay. This book here, let me tell you, I've had it since she first printed it. I got a first print of this, right? Well, this version. And let me just tell you, this book has been such an eye-opener and such a resource in terms of going back and looking into the root of illness. Again, we as people who provide healthcare in the community, I don't care what it is, CNA, dental assistant, I don't care what you are working with people who have a slew of things going on, and all the time they're having conventional things thrown at them, not realizing that some of this stuff, outside of the, the obvious things being hereditary, there are other things that are, that contribute to our health. So, someone asked the question, how big is the book? So, 52 pages of power. Let me tell you something. Action-packed all the way through. Information on every page that can assist you. So, small book. I won't say a quick read, because you're not going through just reading it cover to cover. You're going through and you're doing some work too. Okay? So 52 pages of power. Awareness is key here. Much like with the Bach flower remedies, you can't really begin to treat anything until you start to understand where it's coming from. So when I talked about the psychology of astrology, I kind of started talking about mothers. And I felt, after I did it, I'm going to tell you, I felt like some people may not receive that information the way in which I intended it. But what I can assure you is that, one, if you ask me, I'll tell you. But second, I speak not only as someone's child, I speak as someone's mother when I talk about the impressions in the womb. Okay? I'm not giving you some speculation. I have a womb, and I came from one, and some babies came out of this one. And I can promise you, I can look at my children, and I can see some of the negative thought patterns, just like the positive ones, but some of the negative ones that have caused them some of the difficulty in their walk, in their journey. And I can promise you, I may not have been, well, I was on the inside for my mom, but as we see in Rosaline's book, she said everything a mother feels, you know, like emotionally, physically, you know, anything the mother feels, smells, thinks, says, all of these things are impressed upon that very tender flesh, put right into it. So when Ras Mariah goes into talking about how we are the first nurturers, because that was somebody's question to me, was, what did you mean the mother was responsible? And they kind of gave me like some emojis, like they, you know, had a problem with that. And I said, who else is responsible? Where else is the baby made? Where else is the baby made? It's made inside you. I didn't say anybody was doing it intentionally. I'm telling you, this is why we are doing this series, so we can get educated, and we ain't gonna never stop having babies, are we? So if you know better, you do better. I'm a grandmother to granddaughters that one day may decide to have children. Having this information, knowing what kind of environment is most conducive to a healthy, happy child, not just physically, but emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually, all the things. Having a head start on that, yeah, man, I'll take it. Oh, and it might help me right now? Sure, I'll take it. So, that's what I meant by the mother's responsible. We have to study our mothers. And for those of us who are mothers, we have to study ourselves. Think about what you were thinking about when you were pregnant with said child. And then look at their behaviors and their actions, maybe even some of their physical illnesses, and you let me know. DMs and email always open. So, I went on to quote something else because of that question. It says, Ras Mariah says, you are alone. You are alone. And you are the first culturer and nurturer. And they are conscious to these facts, even if you are not. What you say, what you do, what you think, what you feel, all of that matters in first development, in flesh development. You are shaped in the womb. Okay? I did share this in that video on that night. Lacking the proper relationship between a mother and child, it says may, but I'll say contributes to a physically sick society. If we have a bunch of women having a bunch of babies, let's say that they don't want. Let's just put it out there. Or they have some problem with, or they feel some resentment, or they whatever, angry, probably with good reason. Ain't nobody just walking around here angry for no reason. Okay? So we giving birth to these babies. And then we put them in environments that mimic the environment that the mother was around the whole time she was impressing upon this flesh. What kind of people you think we're going to get? You think we're going to get healthy ones without no problems? You know, it's frustrating because I know for myself that when I had children, I was trying to do my very best. But nobody handed me a book. And I didn't even know about me, let alone know about them. And what was important for them to be, whatever they were going to be. But I am grateful that information like this has come to me over the years to allow me to be able to help the people who come to me professionally and to be able to help my family. So this is good work, y'all. This is good work. Someone asked about the glyphs of the astrological sign. So on page 22 in this book, again, like I said, 52 pages of power, there are the glyphs of each sign, and it tells about what body part is ruled by that particular sign, right? So we just left Taurus, so that was the throat and the neck, and we are now in Gemini, so that's the arms, hands, shoulder, and lungs. And I don't know about nobody else, but I was feeling a little bit of heaviness in my lung. But we're not going to talk about that. This communication, this is about getting that stagnant energy out. And again, knowing these things and knowing that these things can be used not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, along your journey. All of this matters. So let's say you do feel heaviness in your lung. Maybe that means that you're not letting go of something. You're holding on to something. Breathe out. You see what I mean? You see what I mean? Gotta love it. You gotta love it. But breathe out. You know, breathe in and breathe out. Because if not, you'll explode. So, but yes, so on page 22, she addresses all those and she gives the body parts for each astrological sign. And some people, again, don't believe in astrology, but what I'm gonna tell you is this: whether you believe in something or not, and I'm gonna keep completely real with you. Again, if the healing is based upon thinking, right, and belief, at some degree, at some point, saying that, oh, you know, Gemini rules the arms and the shoulders. So I was having this. Maybe that means it's prompting you to know yourself, to work with yourself. That's what all of this is really about, working with you. Because we can go to 1,000,000 doctors, but they are doctoring, they are practicing on you. They are trying things to see what works. And if I'm gonna be somebody's lab experiment, I might as well be my own. I am in a world full of medicine, healing all around me, and the stars also matter. Okay. Someone asked about was there more information about the body parts besides what you mentioned? Okay, yes. On page 40 of this book, she begins to break down each sign, their polarity, their affirmations, and things like that, okay? So, we are, like I said, in Gemini. I come forth out of the mental consciousness of reasoning. I transfer energy into a manner of communication between the spiritual and the physical. Is this not what we're talking about? The spiritual, the emotional, all these things affecting the physical. The spiritual, the emotional, the mental affecting the physical. Right? I have the duality factor necessary to keep energy, ebb and flow, keep things going. Like I said, not letting things get stagnant. You know, part of the whole idea of the planets moving is just to remind people that things are always moving. They tell you that the mud ball is always moving, you know, for those who think it's a mud ball and not a flat surface. But nonetheless, you know, they talk about things constantly being in motion. Nothing is still. Nothing is still. I'm sitting here, you watching the trees blow, the pollen blow, the birds flying by, people walking by, cars going by. Everything is always moving, vibrating, moving, ebb and flow. So yes, there is more in here. And like I said, if you have not had the pleasure of reading R.V. based books, do yourself a favor. And if you get a chance to meet her, let me let you know something. You are going to be in for one of the best experiences of your life. One of the most beautiful sisters I've ever met in my life. Okay? Talented, smart, beautiful, always open for a good conversation. Always. And always willing to share what she knows. So shout out to R.V. Bay. So, last but not least, Louise Hay, right? Like Bach and like R.V. Bay, Hay believed that our beliefs had a large part to do with the physical symptoms and things we were going on in our body. Now, I'm going to just say here, okay? As someone who has dealt with chronic illness, chronic disease, chronic pain, professionally, personally, in my family, etc., I know that it is hard. It is hard to think that, oh, you know, just because I'm thinking wrong, I have cancer. Or, oh, you know, this happened, so I must be thinking. I know it's hard to wrap your mind around. I know it is. I know it is. We struggle. We struggle to wrap our mind around it, but you have to remember, first of all, in this world, we were not taught to think. Okay? We told what to think. Anytime you want to try to think about something outside of that box, you're wrong. I'm going to say this. Like I said in one of the previous videos this month, when you find out that everything that you was taught was a lie, you look at everything different. I question everything. I already did. But learning that so many of the things that I thought I knew were lies, sent me on another kind of mission. So I just want to say to those people experiencing things, you know, that are devastating to the family, you know, cancer, diabetes, heart problems, all these things, lung problems. I know it is hard to wrap your mind around. This may have some emotional, spiritual root to it. But I promise you, the mind is a powerful thing, and it can manifest anything in the body and outside the body. Okay? Now, I'm going to say that it's going to take a little bit more than reading one book to kind of, you know, begin to sometimes make you think. But if there's a book that is going to start to make you think about it, or should I say 2 books, it is that Zodiac Review on You and Louise Hay's book. Because one of the things that Louise Hay's book does is it walks you through the process of realizing how some of these physical things can have an emotional root, right? And what she did was, one of the things I love on page 34, she started, before trying to talk to you about how negative thinking can cause an illness, she talked about how negative thinking can cause other things. The problem is your finances, right? The belief that you're not worthy can result in problems in that space. Now, anybody that's done law of attraction know that I ain't about to say nothing that you ain't never heard before, but I'm saying it, okay? You know, if you want to fast forward, you can. But you don't want to miss nothing. No friends. No friends. You know, I can say I'm guilty of that. Sometimes I feel like I ain't got no friends. And what is the belief? Nobody cares. All of us have had a period in our life where we feel like nobody cares. And it causes a problem. Problems at work. I'm not good enough. Everybody else is better than me. Oh, they don't see me. You know. Always pleasing others. Something I'm terribly guilty of. Oh, they won't like me if I don't do said thing. Or I never get my way. I always got to do for everybody else. These negative thought patterns and these problems are connected. And what Louise Hay goes on to do, and was infamously is called The List, and it starts at page 145 in this book, is she talks about the probable cause of an illness and an affirmation of positive thought to replace a negative one. So I'm going to finish up with this one for you, and then I'll give you some more information about how you can contact us if you have any more questions. She gives this A to Z list of different things. It's not exhaustive, but it's some of the main things that people have complaints about. And I thought this one was really important because so many people suffer from pain, just pain, back pain, leg pain, knee pain, neck pain, all the pains, right? And she says the probable cause is longing for love, longing to be held. I'm going to say it again. Aches, longing to be loved, longing to be held. How many of us can look at our childhood and realize we ain't had enough hugs? I'll wait. Especially if your love language is touch. Can you imagine? Touch deprived, aches and pains. We know that babies, if not touched, can die. So if you have someone who has had negative touch all their life, or no touch at all, it's not surprising that they would have aches and be longing for love and longing for touch. That's healing. And again, mother, first nurturer. Again, not picking on mothers. I love us. This is why this matters to me. I'm tired of us falling short. Okay? Whew. So aches. Longing for love, longing to be held. New thought pattern. I love and approve of myself. Again, many mothers can't teach this lesson to their children because they don't love themselves. You cannot give something you never had. You can give versions of it. You can give what you think it is, but you can't give it. And the last one, I am loving and lovable. As you can see, I'm getting a little emotional because this is important. And I won't pretend like it's not. This Healing Chamber series is important to me because we need to heal. If we haven't learned anything in the time that we had some isolation, is that we don't know ourselves, and we definitely don't know the people we live with. We don't know the depths of our problem because we've never had time, especially people that look like me. We ain't never had time to sit down and evaluate the root of our problems. We just been thrust into problems from the time we was children. And if you're the oldest child, you know exactly what I mean. You was raising babies while you was still a baby, and then started having them on your own. You can heal your life. I'll end with that one, right? Learning how to think, learning that we have to look in different places for the source of some of our illnesses, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, financial. Knowing that we need to look into some of these places, some of these references right here, these resources here, are MaWu Lisa Temple approved. I say, if you have not taken a look into this type of work, please do. If you like further references, there are some resources in the back of Louise Hay's book, and I would be more than happy to refer you to some other work if you've already had a chance to delve into this and you want something a little bit more in-depth. Okay? You can reach us at MaWu Lisa Temple at gmail.com or on Instagram at MaWu Lisa Temple 1. I thank you for one putting up with my ugly crying, but you know this is what's going to happen if we're going to be talking about serious stuff, so just get over it, okay? But thank you for giving me the opportunity to be able to share these things. Like I said, this is important to me. Some of this work I've been doing over 25 years. And it's important to be able to share it, not just hold it. It's not doing me any good to just hold it. So I'm giving it. It's my gift to myself and to others. I thank you. Please tune in again next Thursday. We are getting ready to go into communication season, Gemini season. So we're gonna be talking about using our voice. So until then, thank you for joining me in the Healing Chamber. I am your sister Ru from MaWu Lisa Temple, beautiful Hudson Valley. I'm gonna go enjoy this waterfall. Peace.